thing is a nightmare.
Clown show.
I can't. I'm not going to be able to like talk and hold and read sponsors. I feel like you got this out of like a vaudeville, like Acme Studios cigar
It's
shop.
definitely a carnival. It's a carnival cigar.
Yeah. This is from that little, they call it the barn smoker, like event that my brother let me tag along to. So it's actually a good cigar, but it's just cartoonishly long.
It is.
I mean, look at the size of this thing.
It's the same brand as this one, right? Just a different.
Yeah. That's Liga Bravada something. And I know Nicky Sticks, if he's listening, he's gonna get pissed at me for butchering the all the content around cigars. But this thing is I'm trying to look at the screen down here and also like try to match it up to my shot.
It's hard to look over the cigar and your nose.
I know, yeah. All right, jabronis, we're back. It's already been a circus act. I'm here, by the way, with special guest, the Wet Cat, Phil Reamy. Phil, thanks for letting me travel down here and host.
Glad to be here. Well, glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. This
Site
is
Foxtrot.
Foxtrot, sure.
I don't know.
So we're here in your compound. So thanks for doing that. It's been a circus act as soon as pretty much I walked in the door, besides the traffic to get here, which was an absolute nightmare. And it's just, that's how it is. That's just like, it was like when you're at a concert, like Woodstock is just a wave of people. You're just following the wave of cars,
right,
wherever they're taking you. And luckily it took me here.
Leaving an NFL game or something.
Yeah, that's all it is. And it's all day, every day. There's just too many grease balls living in one tight area. Just trying to get out to Jones Beach to fist bump to Bruce.
The problem is the traffic goes in both directions. So like you never even know. In the evening, like you would think that traffic would be bad leaving the city. Not really the case. It's
that's
traffic
what's
all
wild.
day,
yeah, I don't know where they're going or coming from, because the further out you get east in New York, it's more residential.
Sure. Yeah.
So where are those people going that are going question. West towards the city?
Where are the people going on a Tuesday at 2:00? And there's no construction, no accident, just traffic.
Yeah, and then going towards the city, it's like, do you live in the city and work in Long Island? Like, where do you work?
Yeah. Nobody knows. Before I moved here, I was down on the island for something, and I texted my friend that lives out on the island, and I asked her, I was like, what's the best way to get from here to here? And she explained to me, she was like, bro, I just plug in my GPS every time I drive, and it gives me a different route to work every day. And that's just the way it is. And that's what I do every day before I leave. Work or home, just plug it in the GPS and see what route it gives me.
Yeah, the problem, like, it's a weird kind of catch-22 situation, because there's a billion different routes to go. It's not just like one way in, one way out, but every route is crowded,
right?
And it's just loaded with people.
Just the other day, when I got off of work at 10 and we were trying to hit the sticks, thought I'd be home in 15 minutes, which is the usual ride. The highway over here just happened to have construction on it. They closed it down, completely closed down. So everyone was funneled off onto one exit, 3 lanes down to 1 lane. And then you had to drive to get to the next exit. Of course, that's backed up because all those people are going to that exit. So then I had to drive another, 5 miles out. So it ended up being a 45-minute drive.
Yeah. And there's no guidance. It's like, hey, this road right here is closed.
Right.
Here's your out.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Go get them.
That's just what you got to live with.
And if you think to ask any police on the side of the road for help, we'll tase you.
It's better than Syracuse, though, because they're actually fixing the roads.
Syracuse, let me tell,
there's no traffic in Syracuse, but you're going to need an alignment every 6 months.
It's the most disappointing town in America. There's no doubt about it, because that brings up another point: is why aren't they fixing the roads? They don't have traffic to deal with. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're worried about like, oh, if we shut the roads down, the whole city will be in shambles. Yeah. The city is in shambles, dude. The place is a nightmare. And every time I hear somebody talk Syracuse, wear a Syracuse jersey, all I think about is most disappointing city in America. No doubt about it. Flint, Michigan is not as disappointing because you're going to get shit water and garbage housing. There is like, there's no reason for it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we beat that dead horse.
I can't beat it farther. I can't stop beating the horse off.
so
We
to
have
speak.
flood here. Yeah. Either way. God, now I'm fucking sweating.
Yeah, it's
We're
a
5
little
minutes
toasty.
in. Yeah.
We need like 15 minutes, and that sun is going to be behind that tree.
Yeah. Then the ambiance.
I think it's
really
going
kick
down
in.
this way, so I think it's going behind the tree. You're kind of behind it.
I'm good. My schnoz might get a good glow because that's always sticking out. I gotta get like that guy in Salute Your Shorts, the camp counselor who has
the white
what is it called? Like not iron oxide. I forgot what it's called. Is it maybe that?
That's what it sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't ever
Screech, I think rocked that.
He did, yeah. Rest in power.
Yeah,
Dustin Diamond.
Yeah.
And I never understood that. Just put sunscreen on. I guess that was the OG sunscreen.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like Zuckerberg wears his whole face.
You'd see the people that would lay out there with the mirrors, reflecting onto their face.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos.
Yeah.
There was an episode where he did that in front of the sausage factory that they ran drugs and stuff.
I'll be honest, I wasn't a big Sopranos guy. I'm
a little surprised, but it's okay.
Yeah. I saw some episodes, but only in passing. I never watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now I feel like there's too many. It would take up a lot of my life to get caught up and watch the entire thing.
You get deep into it. Yeah. There's a couple episodes that are kind of good standalones that'll be funny and good to watch. But there is a scene where Paulie Walnuts, who also just died, he's out in front of the storefront and he's got the little the fold out mirror. How you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And he still has his tracksuit on. So it's just his face that he's trying to tan only, like just his under chin. Everything else is long sleeve,
That's all
long
you need
pants.
if you're only one.
I mean, it's out of control. That is Italian Americans from the Northeast to a T. Just absolute jabronis. But speaking of jabronis, why don't we just get into it?
Yep.
Get the business out of the way, and we'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. I ran out of ink on my pen, so I can't read what I wrote. Can't read what the sponsor wrote. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Consuela's Roadside Watermelon Slices. You ever find yourself stuck in traffic in the Long Island Expressway for hours, starving, dehydrated, and thinking about nothing than what I write? thinking about nothing other than slapping the shit out of your wife or girlfriend when you get home? Well, now you can cool your jets with a bag of watermelon slices from Consuela. You see, Consuela is primed and ready, walking around the highway, just ready to sling some slices your way. So to get a refreshing bag of watermelon slices today, just toss out a crumpled $5 bill at Consuela and she'll shoot you a bag of watermelon slices immediately. And if you give her your favorite curse word, she'll toss in an extra 2.9 slices for free. That was tough to get through.
How many slices did you have on the way here?
I had 7.9 slices of watermelon while I waited. They're literally out there in the highway. You know how like motorcycles will lane split?
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're doing out there.
Cart or they're in a bag?
No, holding
just the watermelon slices.
Holding Ziploc bags of slices.
So
no, they're not. They're not raw dogging slices.
I thought maybe it would be like a tableside guac type of thing where they're cutting the slices right away and then handing it to you.
They're pre-cut and bagged. Okay. I saw what looked like either to be a cooler on the side of the road or just a cardboard box with ice in it. Mm-hmm. So I think what they're doing is,
I mean, do you necessarily have to serve watermelon cold?
No, but I think they were keeping them cold because it's like hot out. They don't want them to get hot in the bag while they're in storage because they can only hold so many Ziploc bags. And then they grab a couple of bags and they're literally lane splitting in the highway. Like,
isn't that kind of what happens at like the Mexico border where like you leaving Mexico to come into the United States, all like the vendors and stuff are like swarming that whole area?
Yeah,
like tchotchkes and
tchotchkes and backpacks to hold kids in and stuff like that. Whatever. Yeah. It's a business.
Yeah,
and it's clearly cash only. I mean, that's especially in the summertime.
I'm sure they take Venmo.
Definitely, they definitely looked like they accept Venmo.
Pretty rude for you to assume that they don't have the ability to take Venmo.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is 2022, but if I were a betting man and if I were the smart businessman like I assume they are, they're taking cash only because you can. It's flexible on the taxes that way.
Credit sale is better than no sale, though.
That's also true.
Yeah,
and there are I would imagine a lot of people out here that are just like card only types. Or whatever that pay with your phone. How you doing?
Yeah.
The wallet.
What I've seen at a couple weddings now, and most recently the wedding that I went to, where the bartenders will have just a sign next to the tip jar that has their QR code for Venmo.
That's cool.
And that's legit. I'm sure they get a lot more.
I like that tips better.
Because, like you don't have that excuse of like, I only have like a 20 left. I don't want to tip them a 20.
Yeah.
You know. And I think she got hooked up because everyone at the wedding was taking pictures of it.
Yeah, I would. I mean, besides the sleazeballs that lie and say they don't have they only have a 20 or whatever, I also don't carry a lot of cash anymore.
Oh, I mean, who does?
So, and it's almost like when you're at a wedding too, it's like I'm not carrying my whole wallet.
Right.
I'm carrying like my card and my ID.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea.
I typically try to prepare myself to tip the bartenders.
Yeah, I'll bring extra, but sometimes
sometimes it doesn't happen. And usually I'm the kind of guy that'll tip 20 in the beginning, and then usually they take care of you.
Yeah.
And then depending on how the night goes, maybe another 20 later.
Yep. Yeah, that's smart too. Sometimes I'm wearing pants like at your wedding. My pants, the thighs were too tight. I could not
tight for one bill.
$1 bill, one measly bill. I couldn't spare.
Painted on.
I couldn't. I can only fit a couple of Bilskis in there. Usually, if I'll carry a good wad of cash at a wedding.
Sure.
Mostly singles and some fives, maybe, because I know I'm every time I go up there, I like to throw at least something in there.
Sure.
But I couldn't fit it. Couldn't fit the wad in there, if you will. They were painting. I thought at any given moment, if I did like the guinea hop or something, any move whatsoever would have busted them out because they were not the stretch fit.
Yeah.
So
Trenches
long story short, trenches of war. That's what happens when you're down there rucking into the beaches all day. You get thunder thighs.
Yeah.
So that happens. But Cage fact. All right. It's not so much a fact about Nic Cage, but it's more so like a funny story that's going on in the news. I guess it's more news to me than the real news these days, but in the sports world. So I think a lot of people saw a couple weeks ago when NFL training camp started, Aaron Rodgers shows up to training camp dressed essentially exactly like Nic Cage and Con Air. He already had the long hair he was sporting, and then he wore like the white wife beater or guinea tee around these parts, they call it, tucked into some jeans, and he's walking in like Nic Cage and Con Air.
Yes.
Cameron Poe.
Yeah.
So apparently in the weeks since, some anonymous person sent him a clay bust of Nic Cage's head, and it just showed up in his locker at training camp. And it was like the talk of ESPN. Like after camp, he goes into his locker and they're like, tell us about the bust. Why do you have the Nic Cage bust? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I got it as a gift. I'm keeping it here. I don't know who sent it to me. So for me, that's the news.
I never saw that mainly because I don't really watch ESPN anymore. I don't really watch SportsCenter, but that's funny.
And I saw it on his Instagram page.
Okay.
I think it was his or like a Barstool Instagram page, because I also don't watch ESPN anymore.
That interview with him and Part of My Take was all time.
I saw clips. I had to watch the full thing still, but I saw the clip where they're trying to bust his balls about his vaccination status.
Right.
And they're like, how many grandmas have you killed? And he's like, I know you guys are joking, but I don't find it funny. Which is such a great, I love when that happens to like reporters and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I know they were trying to have a good time, and they were, they got busted.
That was funny,
so to speak. So yeah, that was a good one. So that's the Cage fact. All right, let's spin on over into the junction. I can't even do any and he twirls because I got this.
See if you can swirl around your thumb like a pen.
I know. I'll ash my eyeball.
Megan will kill you.
I know. I don't want to ruin the good furniture here.
Yeah.
This furniture, by the way, is, I don't know, maybe 20 times nicer than my furniture at my actual house when I was living in the LPDS compound in Maryland.
This was, I think, Wayfair. I think we got it from. Pretty reasonably priced. This was actually, it was a gift. It was our first anniversary gift from Megan, my loving wife. Her mom got it for us for our first anniversary.
It was only $10,000.
Yeah, right.
They kept the kid. They gave you the
priced.
chair. Yeah. That was a wild little conspiracy. I don't know if you ever followed that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nothing came of it.
No.
I don't think they even investigated.
Well, nothing
Wayfair.
comes of any of those.
No, they just
investigations.
go away.
Yeah.
They just change the prices.
Right.
And the trafficking still occurs, apparently.
I mean, I think about it every time I drive on the New Jersey Turnpike. You drive by that huge Wayfair plant.
Oh, the outlet or whatever. Yeah.
It's like, I think it's a distribution center.
Yeah.
And I think about how many kids are in there.
Just
getting packaged up,
stuffed in cabinetry at a discount price of $10,000. Imagine, like, and I know trafficking is obviously not good. I talk about it ad nauseum, especially on the sex trafficking side. But if we're talking about people who are just trying to be good, like parents, like, and they can't have kids themselves, in vitro is more than 10,000, and that's just depending on how many times you have to do it. And adopting is also more than 10,000.
To Wayfair being the safe alternative to adopting.
All I'm saying is that maybe that's why they're doing it. You got to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like we said here on the show, we always try to think on everybody's perspective. What if they're doing it for, like, hey, we got a lot of parents out there, a lot of wannabe parents out there that are just trying their best.
I'll be honest, I never thought about it, but it makes sense.
It could be. Again, I don't want to make any gross assumptions against, on their motives for selling a plastic IKEA style cabinet for $15,000, but it could be. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I see it. I can see it.
This goddamn cigar is out of control. I
did
can't
it
even
go
think
out?
straight. No, I think it's still.
Okay. It seems like
We're good.
it seems like it should be a quick burn. If something's that long, it should be a quicker burner, right?
Why is-
I mean, I don't know.
I never tell
cigars.
anything this long.
I don't know anything about cigars.
Maybe Sticks will chime in with a comment.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't even listen, the son of a bitch. But yeah, those in Apple iTunes land or Spotify, go check out the YouTube if the video works. And
our cigar, like the different lengths and thicknesses of cigars, does it change anything with like the flavor profile? So if you made like the cigar that I'm holding in my hand with the same exact tobacco in the shape of that, will it taste different? Like, will it oxidize different to where it tastes different? Or if you make a really short, fat one, like the boss from like Space Jam.
Oh, that's a good pull.
That's a
right
good
there.
cigar.
Yeah, it's a good cigar.
Like
Yeah,
if
it
you,
did.
Like if you made that cigar and then the one from Space Jam with the same exact tobacco, will it taste different?
So I'm pretty sure yes. And again, Nicky Sticks, my brother who works for us, the cigar manufacturer or whatever retailer, can answer the mail better on this. But I'm almost 100% sure yes. And I think they do that. Like, I think they'll create like a an X brand cigar and then offer different sizes because consumers like different sizes. Like, some people like big cigars, so they're trying to sell to that demographic as well. But also there's a different flavor profile because it's a different makeup of, even if it's the same tobacco, the way it's packed.
Okay.
When it's a fatter or longer cigar, I imagine is different.
Okay.
Again, I'm pretty sure that's correct, but I don't know 100%.
All right. Well, I'll be looking forward to the next episode when Nicky Sticks calls in and gives us a rundown on that.
Yeah, and don't hold your breath on Nicky Sticks for being the guest of honor that he claims to be.
I mean, I don't even know who he is. Haven't seen him in a while.
I know he's been MIA, and we live, very close now.
Yeah,
he has yet to come visit me in the dungeon.
Have you recorded at his new place?
I have not. No.
Oh, okay.
Site Delta Force.
Yeah.
No, I haven't recorded there yet. But he does have a new apartment,
Right.
living on his own. I have to go check it out and actually record there.
Yeah.
There is a guy that works with him. He's his video audio guy, Secret Chris.
Right.
And he's actually like, I forgot exactly what he majored in school, but he's like he does acting on the side. Okay. He's been in some like independent films and shows. And
I thought you were gonna say Independence Day.
That would have been amazing. He's the guy that salutes after the speech that nobody. No. So I want to get him on. We were talking about filming at Nikki Stix's place.
Yeah.
To do a neutral, because I can't have guests come down to the dungeon at the Nut House.
Well, you could.
I can't. I could not do that to them.
Right.
Because God knows if I have a guest and it's known to the other tenants of the compound,
the landlords of the compound.
Yeah, it's gonna be an absolute nightmare for them. So it was already a nightmare last week when I filmed and they came home from work
during filming,
and I wish the camera stayed connected long enough so you can see it actually fall off the tripod and you can see like it was wires were flipping everywhere.
I haven't watched the last episode, so I can't say that I watched it, that I saw what happened.
You don't see really much of anything. You just see the picture freeze up, and then okay. I did some editing, so it only freezes for like a second.
Okay.
But yeah, Randy ran through all the cabling. And it was so quick. It didn't just pull like the camera down. It pulled plugs out like a magician.
Oh, man.
You know, where you just pull it so quickly. Everything was gone. And then I thought it was just the camera. So I recorded another 15, 20 minutes after I plugged the camera back in. And the audio wasn't plugged in because he got that too. So I'm sitting there, I'm motherfucking downstairs in the basement. And like when I walk upstairs, I'm like, you son of a fucking bitch wiring. God damn it. I can never figure out this goddamn tech stuff. I'm such an idiot. God damn. Because I had 20 decent minutes, I thought.
Yeah.
And I had to compose myself and re-record the end. Man. You know, the big three's got to be in there. Yeah. So, and then when I went upstairs, my mother, Crazy Carol, she's like, are you all right? I was like, yeah, I'm just taking a page out of your book, lady. Like screaming. I was so hot. And then of course I got the guilt trip of like, just because I'm passionate about loving you guys doesn't mean like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, open that box.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I had like nanny cams around the house just to get that content.
Yeah.
Because it's gold.
Like Big Brother, like just a good reality TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I won't actually have to work a real job. I can just make my money off of that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it.
Just be editing all day.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It would be a pleasure. Because I know the money would be rolling in. You can't not watch it. Speaking of not watching something, I started watching the Derek Jeter documentary, The Captain. And I wanted to know what you know me, like I'm a mental case. I just want to watch all 8 of them in order one day, knock it out.
Right.
But my parents are like, oh, we should start watching this when we're all together, like a family. I was like, oh shit. I was like, all right. So I've been like on the weekends or when they get home from work, I'll eat dinner up there with them. And we'll watch an episode. We're only 3 episodes in. First episode, as soon as my mom makes this suggestion to put it on, my dad already gets hot, which I don't know why. He spent an entire 20 years career loving Derek Jeter. Uh-huh. And all of a sudden you just hear him go, I don't think I like Derek Jeter anymore. I heard he's not humble as I thought he was. You know who was humble? Mickey Mantle, because that's his favorite player.
Right.
And I was like, you mean the drunk who got a blowjob from a fan in the middle of a game underneath the bleachers? He's like, he was still humble about it. I was like, all right. So as soon as we put it on, every time Jeter said something, my dad had a little snide comment about Mickey Mantle wouldn't have done that or said that or this and that. I was like, what happened here? And then my mom is getting pissed because she can't hear anything because he's running his dick sucker out there talking about how Mickey Mantle's better.
Are both of them like very knowledgeable Yankee fans?
My father is.
Yeah.
My mother is I don't know what she is.
Mm-hmm.
She is a person who's never played a sport in her life, who has the attitude of someone who used to play for the Yankees and is disappointed that they're not living up to her standards of athleticism.
That's fair.
Yeah. She does it with the Giants too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never met a more passionate human being and aggressively confident in her knowledge of a sport who's never played the sport before.
Sure.
Like you've seen, like they're female baseball analysts.
Sure.
That are very knowledgeable in the sport.
Right. Not her.
That's not Carol. No, not Crazy Carol. She has she's a feeling person, like an instinct. Like if I don't like the cut of your jib, you're not going to be a good player. That's it. No matter what you do, you're never going to live up to my standard.
She'd have been a good scout in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Before sabermetrics.
Yeah. Before. Yeah. She hates sabermetrics. Oh my God. Oh my God. She again, another player, David Cohn. Loved David Cohn when he played. She hates him now because he's a sabermetrics guy.
Yeah.
Even though
so is Boone. She hates Boone.
She hates Boone. No. Okay. Yeah, she hated Boone before he was even a coach. Mm-hmm. But when he tore his ACL,
oh right,
that really paved the way for the
best player
A-Rod
in baseball to ever play the game.
A-Rod, no, because A-Rod was a competitor of Jeter, therefore he's garbage, and that's baseball analysis, Susan. That's how it's done. So
Harvard analysis.
She hated A-Rod, hates David Cohn now. And I even told her, I was like, hey, Ma, David Cohn actually said multiple times, like, I am not a sabermetrics guy. Like, I'm old school kind of baseball feel, but the people like the analysis, like the data points.
Sure,
so I'm going to be knowledgeable on the data points. And I'm going to give the people what they want. I'm a commentator for them, not for myself. She's like, she goes, I don't like them. Why isn't he appealing to me? I was like, you're the only one. So
I do think some of those stats are weird. Like,
I don't like,
Skip, Coach Stiegel, mentioned it a long time ago. Like now when you watch a game, like the first, like for 100 years of baseball on TV, the first stat that was listed was their batting average. Now it's OPS, which is wild to me. It's weird that like it's changed. Now OPS is like and there's like simple, subtle things like that.
Yeah,
that have changed in the last 2 or 3 years.
Right, and I don't like all the sabermetrics. Some of them are stupid. Like, what's WAR for an offensive player?
Wins above replacement.
Yeah. I don't know how they actually calculate it. It makes sense that like it's like their effect on the game just by being out there kind of thing or whatever it is. But how they go about figuring it out,
I mean, it's some kind of algorithm.
It's cockamamie, yeah.
And that's the argument against Jeter. When you ask like Red Sox fans in specific, they can't believe that he's in the Hall of Fame because his WAR and like defensive sabermetrics were like way below average, I guess. But he didn't play in this era. On the face, like clutch hits and things like that don't get recorded really into sabermetrics. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he hit 310, I think, in his career. I think anyone that hits 310 in their career for 20 years is going to make it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, 310 plus 3,500 hits.
Yeah,
that's Hall of Fame. I'm sorry.
So I mean, I don't know. I understand the argument against Jeter, but obviously I think he's definitely a Hall of Famer, regardless of being a Yankee fan or not. But those are the arguments against him, which I think are kind of ridiculous because you had to take some kind of face value on players.
Yeah,
that sabermetrics can't really reflect.
Right. And that's something that actually Buck Showalter said. I think the Creature was showing me where he said this. Creature is a long-time listener, big-time VIP guest.
Oh yeah.
He said, he goes, and a couple other coaches I think said it as well. Maybe Billy Beane said it too. I might be conflating the two people, but they said I consider myself a sabermetrics guy, but I also consider that the personality traits of the human being, like the ball player themselves, that's a data point for sabermetrics. Like their work ethic, how they hustle out a ground ball, their attitude, like on the field and off the field. That's a sabermetric. Those are data points for me.
Right.
And that's something that like you obviously don't hear a lot when you hear the commentators talking numbers. But I think that's that's just as important. That melding of the two, like baseball mindset and data points, or numbers. I think that makes.
I think the 90s were like the late 90s were kind of the golden years of, if you're talking about statistics and things like that, where all the data was there and accessible. And so they had all the binders and stuff in the dugouts and stuff. So you could make adjustments to play to statistics like lefty matchups, things like that.
Right.
Where it
shifts.
It created an element of statistics that you're playing against.
Right.
But at the last decision comes from the manager, and it could just be a gut feeling. You know? Now it's pretty much purely statistic based.
It's very black and white. This is probably like tinfoil hatty of me, but I have like some strange feeling that Boone is not even like managing the team. He's like, they're just telling him, hey, follow what the book says and do it.
I think a lot of managers are like that. I don't think Boone is alone in that.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you see the other day, what's the White Sox manager, longtime manager? Oh my God,
Figueroa.
How do I forget his name?
Oh, he used to manage the Cardinals.
Yeah.
The DUI guy.
He's so old.
Yeah, starts with an L.
He's
Landry, not Landry.
La Russa, Tony La Russa.
La Russa, that's it. Yeah. He's so old.
Did you see what happened the game last week?
No.
It was like, I didn't see the whole. Obviously, I didn't watch the game, but I saw the clip. It was like bottom of the ninth or something like that, and they were down by one or something, and somebody hit a double, or I don't know. Somebody was on base. So like you have to score that run to continue the game. And he was just going to leave whoever got the hit running. And he's slower than dog shit. And he wasn't in for defense. And so some fan like in the front row, like behind home plate, was yelling at La Russa, like, put in whatever his name was to run. And then he like, oh yeah. And so he like stumbles out of the dugout and barely gets the umpire's attention.
Oh, so he puts
him in.
So it was not like a purposeful decision to leave the guy in. He was just like,
no idea.
Yeah,
he was gone. He was already in bed.
You think he was drunk or just old?
Probably. Dude, have you watched him?
Earlier in the season, he's decrepit.
You'll see clips of like players arguing with an umpire, get thrown out, and then he comes out to like either defend them or get in the way. In between the umpire and him, but it takes him like 10 minutes to shuffle out of the dugout.
By that time, the player and the umpire have already mended fences,
bumped a couple times. He's already suspended.
And then they shake it out, like they shake hands, and they're like, let's watch this old guy hobble over here.
It's kind of sad. I don't know.
Yeah, he needs to retire. They need to tell him like retire or it's going to look ugly.
Right.
But so long story longer, my parents are menaces into society when watching this documentary. Yeah.
It's funny for Megan when we were watching, she claims that she's a Yankees fan now. She just last week, I think. She converted completely from Nationals to Yankees.
Oh, good.
So perfect front runner. Now the Yankees are barely in first place now.
Yeah,
just sliding
just in time for them to have a
maybe
meltdown.
It's the curse of Megan instead of the curse of Joey Gallo.
Yeah.
But so we watched the Jeter doc, and she said it was exciting because she didn't watch any of the like championships
back
and stuff
in the day,
90s and stuff, 90s and 2000s. So she had no idea whether they were going to win or not. Like as they're going through the progression of
each one. We already knew
obviously I already knew the outcome of each year. And so she was on her toes, pins and needles, waiting to see what happens.
That's
so
pretty fun.
For her it's kind of exciting to watch.
It's still exciting for me to watch, like to rewatch essentially. And then kind of tough to watch when they shit the bed. But
the 2004 episode was tough to swallow, tough to watch.
I'm just getting to that now. What I've been doing, and luckily my parents don't listen to this, I've been watching them ahead of them. because I want to actually enjoy the episode and learn and hear like the backstage kind of behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
And then when we watch it with them, I can just focus in on them being like the two old guys from the Muppets, like back and forth with each other, like, shut up, I can't hear. Jeter sucks now. It's all about Mantle and this and that. And I don't have to worry about missing anything because I already saw it.
Yeah.
So
that's probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah, because every time there's a new piece of information, there's follow-up commentary from the peanut gallery over there. And it's like a good 10 minutes long.
Right.
And then it usually ends in like, well, you shut up so I can listen to this. It's like, you started it.
You already missed what the point was.
Yeah. The episode ended like 5 minutes ago. I just rewinded, like I just rewatching it. Like we're watching Seinfeld now. Like it's out of control.
So how many episodes have you been through?
I guess 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, I liked it a lot. Mainly because I'm a Yankees fan. I don't think it's as good as the Michael Jordan. It keeps getting compared to the Michael Jordan documentary. I don't think it was as good because it doesn't really get into like a lot of the salacious stories. Like with Jordan, it got into like all the like crazy stories you heard during his career, like his gambling and things like that.
Yeah. And then they asked him about it.
Yeah.
Like he talked about it. He's like, no, I don't have a gambling problem. I have a competition problem, whatever he said. Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that's a product of like Jeter just actually being such a clean cut guy, but they kind of allude to him like going out and partying and stuff like that. But they don't really get into a lot of like untold stories, like that.
Yeah.
Which I kind of was hoping to hear. But it was still pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot.
I think too, one of the things about the Jordan documentary was that he was like so like out of control, talented, and like I don't even know what the word to describe it, but like the talk of the town, that he had cameras on him everywhere all the time, and he was like filming essentially the documentary before it was even. So they have all those stories kind of.
Right.
Even if it was like only like parts of it before they like cut the camera or whatever, it was out there kind of to the point where they're like, now we can start asking questions and forming gossipy theories and what have you. Jeter was always behind the scenes.
Which it was crazy that so like in The Last Dance, that's the whole point of it, was that they recorded that whole last season because they had the foresight to see that it was like the last chance of like glory for the Bulls. I don't know if they ever did anything with that footage until that documentary. Yeah. So it is that's a good point. That's interesting.
Yeah, and they don't have any of that really with Jeter.
No.
And then also like they mentioned, how he made some decisions to not do stuff, and it ended up like the whole Puff Daddy getting arrested with the shooting and J-Lo, A-Rod's wife, A-Rod's ex-girlfriend or whatever. That's really it. Like that was it.
Jay Affleck.
Yeah, that's Are they married now again already?
Yeah. I thought
quick.
she took his name. Isn't that true?
That's wild.
I don't know.
I wonder if they'll make another Geely type movie. One of the all-time worst. Good for Ben.
Yeah.
But that was the crazy, that and the gift basket, the sex gift basket.
They did talk about that. That was funny.
Yeah. The only other thing though with Jeter is like, you're a single dude, no kids. You're not an alcoholic. You didn't get any DUIs or anything like that. So anything he would have done that would have seemed crazy for other people, it's just not. Like him sleeping around or dating a bunch of different like women at the top, like the prime of their careers. It's not a big deal.
Sure.
Because why wouldn't he do that? He's a single guy.
Right.
He's not getting in trouble. He's just living his life.
Right.
So it's not really a story.
Right.
But like Tiger Woods doing all that same stuff and married with kids.
That's a little different.
Now it's a story.
Right. Yeah.
That was the one thing I always sort of joked about, but said after Tiger Woods got busted was like him and Jeter were sort of had like that same trajectory of being awesome in their sport. Obviously Tiger Woods was better at his sport than Jeter was at his,
sure.
But everything like the top dog, everybody loved them. Players, fans, everybody, they dated / bedded all the hottest women you can possibly imagine. The only difference was that Tiger Woods did it while he was married.
Sure. Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
So he's a monster. I'm not saying what he did was right. I was saying it was just like,
yeah, that changes the whole. It changes the whole game.
If he was not a married man committing a constant adultery,
right,
nobody would have fucking cared.
Did you watch the Tiger Woods documentary?
Not yet.
So it's a little different because it wasn't endorsed by him. Like the Michael Jordan and Jeter one were obviously endorsed by them. And so like, because they were interviewed, but the Tiger Woods documentary he wasn't even interviewed in it for it.
So it was just about him.
It was more of a hit piece than anything. It talked about the negatives of his career and stuff like that. And they talked about how like his father, like kind of instilled that, those shenanigans of sleeping around and stuff like that. They told one story about like, so like his father like had him golfing from when he was like 2 years old, like really pressed it on him, similar to like the Venus and Serena Williams situation. Like their father like put it on them. So anyway, so like they told the story about him, his dad taking him to the driving range at like age whatever 5 or 6 or whatever, and his dad is obviously married with kids, and they would like he had like a Winnebago like behind them at the driving range. So they would go to the driving range. He would like instruct them for a while. And then like all these like hot blonde chicks would just start rolling in, and he'd take them into the Winnebago and like do whatever to them and then come back out. And like Tiger knew what was going on. It wasn't a secret.
Yeah. He's not an idiot.
Kind of like from a young age instilled to him.
That's
like
wild.
Like this is what happens.
That's wild.
Yeah. So there's
like right in front of your kids.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Tiger did that in front of his kids.
Yeah,
but it makes sense why, like, he,
Yeah, it makes sense why he would, have that kind of like sex addiction type of deal.
Yeah, and that sort of mentality of like,
sure,
yeah, that's just what I'm gonna like. That's what I do.
But it was a good documentary. But like I said, it was kind of a hit piece. It's a much different kind of flow to it. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
I'll have to watch that alone.
Sure.
Yeah. I can't watch new shows with the family right now. I have to be Ray Romano. Everyone loves Raymond reruns are good. Blue Bloods reruns with Tom Selleck. Those are fine because my mom has seen those 1,000 times and she still has to, she'll rewatch them. But anything new is tough.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I did in the couple episodes I watched of that documentary. Maybe like the first episode, even when Don Mattingly was being interviewed, one thing he was saying, and then they said it like even with like Jeter and O'Neal and them, was that they like even if they were like when they lost or played bad, their attitude was like collectively as a team, like we are like we're mad about this and we're gonna like even if the outcome was a loss, they always try to win every single game, every single inning, every single at bat, whatever.
Yeah. That doesn't exist anymore.
No. So that was what I was going to actually kind of ask you, because we discussed the last time you were on here with Cobblepot, that whole idea, because I think the Jordan documentary came out around then too. When we were talking about his competitive nature,
right,
and that whole thing. And how you were throughout your career as well, like playing baseball.
Sure.
For me, when I heard them talking about that in the documentary, and I was like immediately thinking about the current team and just not just the Yankees, but just athletes in general, I was like, it's super disheartening to see that doesn't exist in the majority of athletes anymore.
No, and I think it's the money that changed everything. Because if you think about it, back in let's say like '98 when they had their best season, that's only what when was the home run race that basically saved baseball? That was 98, wasn't it?
I think
96, 98.
Yeah, 98.
Yeah. So before the home run race, players weren't getting really paid that much. I mean, when you think about it, contracts were only, $1, $2, $3, $4 million for, 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
They weren't getting paid the crazy amounts that they're getting now.
No.
Like when after
A-Rod.
Yeah. Well,
Liquid
A-Rod,
boy.
that definitely changed everything. But so if you think about early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, you think about those players, like it's less about the money and more about the winning. And so when you get into 98, you're only, less than 10 years removed from that. So you still have some players in clubhouses that were used to that.
Yep.
And then even if they weren't in those kinds of clubhouses, it still spills over, one more generation, I think.
Right.
But I think now that, players get paid so much, it's a completely different, game when it comes to competitiveness and things like that.
Yeah, they're competing individually for
Sure.
for a next contract.
Right.
Like, and I hate to say this, but like Aaron Judge is having this season like a career season right now. And his contract is up this year.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like we get it, dude. You're playing for the contract. Are you gonna just put it in an autopilot after you sign with
Sure.
somebody?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't want to, again, I don't want to sound like negative or or anything like that or jaded, but like that's what it kind of looks like.
Yeah. It's hard to not feel that way when you see players on their contract year ball out.
Well, one of the best to ever do that, I think, is
Robinson Cano.
He got busted with steroids a lot too, and now he's a jobber. Like
I don't even know what he's doing now. Is he still playing?
He started with the Mets, and then he got sent to the Padres or somewhere, some other team, the Expos, and then they released him, and then he was like a nobody, and then he got picked up by another team, maybe the Pirates or something.
Okay.
So I don't think he's starting, but I think he's on a team still. Okay. I don't know. I was going to say Chris Davis from the Orioles.
Yeah, sure.
That's one of the all-time right.
They're still paying him.
Yeah, that's one of the all-time con jobs of any ball player I've seen, where he had like a historic contract year. They sign him. He had one like that first year after the signing was like a decent year, like enough for them to be like, oh, okay, he didn't shut it down after signing the contract.
Right.
And then he completely shut it down. Like he didn't even pretend anymore. He wasn't even like, yeah, I'll hit 20 home runs. He's like, I will hit 2 home runs and I will bat 130 and you will pay me. And I won't even feel bad about it. Like one of the all-time like meltdowns, or I think he did it on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, he said it. I remember watching like interviews and stuff. He always said the right things. Like he felt so bad about, not being able to produce to his contract, but I don't know.
I don't know how you do, like, how do you go from that good to that bad almost overnight?
Yeah.
It's not like the pitchers changed. It's not like one new pitcher came in and it was like, oh, this guy is just too good. It's like the league just got progressively better than you.
I mean, I don't know. If you were to make an argument to that, it would be something like pitchers found out what his weak spot was and pitched to that.
And he never adjusted.
Yeah. And typically like that tends to happen, like players that have super good rookie years. And then, then they slump, the sophomore slump, or they slump after that. Because, once you, compile enough stats in the big leagues, then they have enough on you to know where your cold spots are and things like that.
Yeah.
But to that extreme, I mean, that's the most extreme that we've seen in recent times.
Yeah. And you can't even call what Joey Gallo pulled with the Yankees the same extreme.
Sure.
Because if you look at his numbers, like his home runs went down this year, but his batting average only went down like 40 points compared to what he's normally like a 200 hitter, 210. And he was like 160, so 50 points ish.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's not 260 down to 160. It's not 100 points difference.
Sure. Yeah,
he's just like he just had a bad.
He just couldn't recover.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was a okay hitter with power, and walked a lot to a bad hit. Like he just went down to a bad hitter who walked a lot and hit less home runs.
It's
good fielder though.
It's hard to like, I don't know. I mean, obviously I don't know because I don't play in the big leagues, but like when you're on a team that's that good and was playing so well, the Yankees, until they got rid of him, they were playing super well. you have so much protection around you in the lineup. Like there literally is no pressure on you at all, other than the fans, the New York fans that get on you, which is a real thing. But like I don't know.
Yeah. So
like I said, I don't play in the big leagues, so I can't.
I have two things. One point about that, one argument for the fans, and then a theory.
Mm-hmm.
So my argument for the fans is that the Yankee fans have been historically like trash. They'll fight players like they did earlier in the year. All that shit. I'm not going to sit there and say that we're respectful fans. Got it. Whatever. Right. But I will say that you don't just put on a uniform and they boo you until you're good.
Right. You have to do something.
If you suck, if you get up there and do well, you're fine.
Right.
If you suck, then they boo you. It's not the other way around.
Even Jeter talked about getting booed.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's basically unanimously loved by Yankees fans.
Right. And there's a Yankee now, Aaron Hicks, who started bitching about like, oh, I'm doing poorly, but these fans are ruthless. It's like the fans are ruthless because you're sucking.
Right.
Not because you just showed up and they're like, we're going to choose to be a shitbag to you today. Right. Like you're earning your boos right now.
Right.
Now my theory is that the Yankees were crushing it when Gallo was on the team because the focus was on Gallo's nightmare of a season. The talk of the town and all the reporters and the fans were just like, what's going on with Joey Gallo?
Yep.
And all the other players who were still batting 220, 230, 215, nobody was talking about them. Yeah. Nobody even noticed the fact that they were batting subpar. Like the whole team's average is like 240, maybe collectively, which is not great.
Sure.
He leaves. There's no one to pin it on now but those guys.
No one punching bag.
Right.
I believe that. I buy into that for sure. I buy into it.
Now I kid a little bit, but like also I'm like, there could maybe a little bit. I don't know. Like
I buy into that. I buy into that 100%.
I can't like when I played, if I actually played like in a game, if I knew someone was doing poorly and like my coach was getting in their ass about it, especially in high school, be like, oh, no pressure for me. Sure. Just go up there and do whatever. And no one's going to say, hey, Libretti, why are you sucking? Besides my parents.
Yeah.
So it was good to go. My coach never sat me down and was like, hey, you're shitting the bed for me. And I wasn't great. Obviously I wasn't great. I never started. Right. Like, but that I think that sort of mental, emotional, like baggage you don't have to carry around helps a lot. I buy into that. I do buy into that, but at the same time, you can't blame management for getting him out of there. No, he had to go
because you have to.
No. He had to go.
Try to improve the team by the trade deadline.
I as much as I wanted Joey Gallo to be good, he had to be. He had to be released, or I can't believe someone traded for him.
I think the last straw was I don't even remember the exact situation, but Boone pinch hit him in like the 9th or something or 10th or something.
It was abysmal. There was a video I think on Barstool of some guy screaming at the TV when they decided to pinch hit him.
Because if he gets a hit and wins the game, maybe that resurrects his whole season. Maybe it makes Boone look like a genius. But I think he struck out on 3 straight pitches or something.
It wasn't even close, the poor bastard.
So I think that was the last straw. Then he was pretty much gone a week later.
I think at the very least, the coaching staff should have told the rest of the team, like, hey, like without Joey Gallo in the room, obviously, like get him out of the dugout or for a quick minute and be like, listen, once he leaves, you guys are in big trouble because they're going to be all over your asses.
Yeah.
Because Aaron Hicks wasn't bitching about the fans the whole, like the rest of the whole last part of the season, the beginning part, when he was still sucking it up and getting hurt for no reason.
Right.
Rizzo, I like Rizzo. He's batting 220.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about him batting 220 until now.
Yeah.
So but that's just a theory.
Yeah.
They should have probably warned the team, but that just goes in again, kind of circling back to like if I were still playing And if I had the athleticism to be a professional baseball player, like maybe I can't speak to it because I never got a big paycheck, but like, why are you playing? Like, that's why I got into the sport. Like, to compete and win and be better than you.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I think everyone gets into the sport for that.
Yeah.
But it is funny in the Derek Jeter doc, we keep going back to it, but he talks about how he never won. Any team he was ever on, Little League, and then Babe Ruth, and then into high school, he said his teams were terrible.
Yeah, they were dog shit.
So,
I actually looked them up. They were not good.
Yeah. So like him, like to have this like winner's mentality was kind of weird. But no, I agree with you. I think everyone gets into the sport obviously to win and compete.
Yeah, there's very few.
I think money changes you.
Yeah,
but
there's few players I look at now that I can say like got into the sport just to make a paycheck. Like I can. There's like one or two off the top of my head I think of that. Like I could see this guy choosing to play baseball, for the like to go pro anyway. Sure. For the paycheck to choose.
I mean, we saw some of that even in college. I mean, some of our teammates that we had who ended up being abysmal were there for the scholarship because they were getting, they had good numbers in high school or whatever, and they got, close to a full ride to go to school.
Yeah.
And I mean, why wouldn't you ride that to get the free education?
Right. And
it was more of a job to play baseball to get the free education money.
Yeah.
So even at the college level, it happens. So, I mean, when you're talking about millions of dollars,
yeah, that's a lot of money.
I think it gets, exponentially, the extremes become more.
Yeah, for sure. And I always had this like idea, again, because I'm never going to have to worry about contract negotiations like this.
Sure.
But I was like,
you never know. Someone might be at your next beer league softball game.
Well, I'll tell you my plan in a second here, because I was talking to our other friend, previous guest, Brandon Roper-Hubbard, about this a couple days ago. But when I was a kid, I always was like, I would accept a pay cut in salary and just take the league minimum if I can stay with the team I wanted to play for to try to win, which is obviously like the Yankees, because I was a Yankee fan. Even the Mets I'd play for. Like if they offered me, like I always said, like if they offered me $10 million, which was a lot back then, to go play for like the Braves, I'd be like, no way, I'll take the league minimum to stay on the Yankees and be on the bench or whatever.
Right.
I don't know if that's true now, but it was a nice idea. But I was talking to our friend about this, and I was looking at, what sparked it for me was watching the All-Star game. And they had the umpire cam, and looking at some of these guys like break curveballs like off a table. And I'm like, how do you hit that?
Right.
And then I was like, well, now I'm on some sort of mental mission where I'm going to figure out, like, I'm going to go back to basics. I'm going to start with tee work. I'm going to hit off a tee constantly until I have blisters on my hands and get like my form back in order again. And then I'm going to get into like a batting cage and just go straight fastballs until I can hit 100 regularly.
Sure.
And then I'm going to go to one of those like higher end batting cages that have curveball machines and just have like simple curveballs, and then more complex until it's like a Clayton Kershaw curveball or somebody's slider that just like looks like a fastball at 90 miles an hour, and then just breaks away.
Right.
Until I can hit. And then I'm just going to try for the Yankees.
And what's your timeline for this?
It would have to be quick because I'm getting up there in years. So I figured since now is a perfect time because I have nothing else to live for.
Right.
I have no job.
Sure.
I'm going full George Costanza right now, living at my parents' house. I figured I could do this every day.
Yeah.
So that's a good 2.5 months now.
Stock up on batting cage tokens.
Yeah.
Get in there and
I have an in.
I'll be behind you.
I have an in with a batting cage in New Jersey because I used to work at one. Lefty Sports Academy. Shout out to Helmet Lucaro.
They're going to sponsor your contract. So like they'll give you money now. And then when you sign a big contract, you got to give them a percentage.
Knowing my friend Helmet, I don't want an attachment. I will pay for the tokens and the cage time like a regular, person.
Okay.
I just know I'll pay a little extra if I can get in during off business hours.
Sure.
That's the only thing I'll do. Otherwise, I don't want helmet being my I don't have to answer the helmet.
Well, I'm sure
I love him to death, but he knows.
all the LPDS fans will be rooting for you.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'll post video updates of me in the cages. I can't do any worse than Joey Gallo.
I think you have to start before you even start with tee work. I think you got to start with hitting frozen peas in the backyard.
Oh yeah.
I think that'll be. You got to get back to basics.
Back to basics, like what my
dad,
old man did.
Get your dad to start tossing your frozen peas.
Yeah, and speaking of frozen peas, so I'm living back home for everybody who didn't figure that out yet, and we have in the house there are 2 refrigerators, full-size refrigerators with the freezers, and then one just freezer. It's the size of a refrigerator, but it's just a freezer.
Okay.
It's packed to the gill. All 3 of them are packed to the gills, mainly with like stockpiles of frozen bread and bagged vegetables and vegetables, Brussels sprouts, peas.
Like, are we talking about they were fresh, like
some
fresh at one point, or they were just bought
fresh,
frozen? Okay.
Some were fresh, some were frozen. There's some canned peas out there.
Okay.
So I know I have, I mean, just off the top of my head, probably a good 10,000 peas that I can hit just in my yard alone without having to go to the cage.
Yeah.
So I know JPL3 would be happy to get back out there.
Good.
He's been sidelined from his senior men's league for the past couple of years because he had a shoulder surgery.
Okay.
So he can't play with the 80-year-olds right now. So he'll be, so I'll get some, hopefully I'll get some videos of us. I have all my bats still at home.
Yep.
So we'll get out there and he'll soft toss some peas to me.
What was your go-to bat growing up? This is always a debate of like what was the best bat.
Yeah. So Little League, it was a little tougher because we were poor.
Okay.
So in the beginning, it was, in Little League, like the rec league, they give you a bag of supplies, and it was like catcher's gear, helmets, and a couple of bats for the poors.
Sure.
So I obviously was using one of those bats, and then we were able to save up enough for me to get a copperhead bat.
Okay.
It was C405 metal at the time, which was big time.
Yep.
And I used that bat for, I don't know, a good 10 years.
I had one of those. It was like an orange, like burnt orange color.
Yeah, it was a snake skin. It was burnt orange, but it looked like a snake skin.
Yeah.
And I usually people buy bats every like year now,
right?
Even less.
Yeah.
Mine was like I used that through Little League into a couple years of like Big Diamond.
Sure.
Because that was it. And then I finally upgraded after I worked at the batting cage at Lefties for a while. I was able to save up enough money for it was not a red line. It was an Easton. It might have been. It was right before. Maybe it was the Black Widow.
I don't know.
Not Black Widow. I could see it in my head. Black Mamba. I don't think that was a bat, but it was Black Magic, maybe. Okay. It was something like that.
All right.
I had that for a little while. And then I had this other bat that was really good. I forgot the name of it, but I cracked it.
Yeah.
It had a lot of pop, but it was one of those, like, if you hit it on the end of the bat, it's cracking.
Some of those older bats, when they cracked, they got more power.
Yeah.
And so I used once we got to the bigger diamond, I got a Louisville Slugger, the green liquid metal one.
Oh yeah.
And that thing was wild. And that was one of the ones that you would hit it if you like just hit with the label up all the time.
Yep.
You'd get a nice flat spot. So you'd be hitting with like a cricket mallet.
Yeah. And that thing would blast.
And so then it would start to crack, and then it would even go even further. And it wasn't until I played Summer League in Luray in the Valley League that I played with some like high Division I players. And those teams had like what they called a bat roller. And so this was before like, I don't even know, BB Core is what they use now.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's still the rules they use now. It was like BESR was the term used prior to that.
Code, like that was the approved.
Right.
Yeah. BESR certified. Yeah.
So it was during that era. And so they had this bat roller. There was like a machine that like some nerd made from the engineering department that you'd stick the barrel in, and then it would like roll and crack the bat on purpose. So like crack the inside of the bat. Like some of these things were like carbon fiber.
Yeah.
Weird bats. And so we'd take batting practice, and it was a wood bat league, but some of them would take batting practice with these bats and just they'd be hitting like 500-foot home runs, like way into the parking lot.
Absolute mammo bombs.
We would make sure to park like super far away, and all the visiting fans and stuff and park right over the fence, and they just get peppered. And so like those bats were ridiculous.
Yeah. I remember back in Little League when Easton was making the red line, they had this one called the Mother Load. And it was loaded. And for people who don't know what loaded bats are, like it's easier to do on metal bats because metal bats are hollow inside. And what people would do is they would load it inside with something solid. So that it would give it like more like mass and substance behind it. So you would just crush.
Yeah.
Easton was making a bat called the Mother Load where they had these like thin metal rods that they just like straws that they would just like clamp up together and just shove in the middle of this bat and then cap it and be like, we're selling it. Like, we're not even hiding it. There was a clear cap so you could see all the rods inside, and it said
like a corked metal bat.
Yeah, and it said Mother Load on the bat, and they're like, go get them. And I remember I went to this camp, and it was run by this private high school that actually ended up being a rival high school of ours, Del Barron. And they were always good at baseball as well. Mm-hmm. And they had, at the time when I was in Little League, they had a couple of top prospects in high school, and they were running this camp. And one of these guys was like, let me see this bat. And like my friend had the bat. He's like, can I hit some balls with it? They're like, yeah. And we get on their high school field, like the big diamond, and he is crushing the ball. And
with a Little League bat?
With this Little League bat. Like he's hitting it 450, almost 500 feet with a Little League bat.
That's insane.
And he goes, I don't know how this is legal. And I'm like, sure as shit, like the next year, Little League, like the Babe Ruth is like, yeah, we can't use these anymore, Easton. You got to stop.
Yeah, there was a time period there where like what I was saying, like from BESR to like BB Core or whatever the hell terms they use now, where it was like every year they were coming out with a new like rating or something that was legal, and it was like pissing off all the parents because they'd buy these like $400 bats, and then the next year it's illegal.
It's illegal.
And so then you buy the new one, and then the next year it's illegal.
Yeah.
But I think they've kind of settled on to whatever.
I don't know what it is. What it is now, but they're dead. Not dead, but they're.
I think they still go as far. There's just the sweet spot is much smaller. Is kind of what.
It's more commensurate to like a wood bat.
Sure, right.
Bit. In fact, at this point, like I would probably just prefer a wood bat.
But I had problems as a pitcher pitching to those kinds of bats because we had BB Core. I think my senior year, maybe my junior and senior. I think it was just my senior year is when the BB Core came out, and it was supposed to mimic a wood bat.
Yeah.
And so like I'd face lefties and like throw inside a cutter inside to them or something. They'd like just saw them off. But with the metal bats, it wouldn't break the bat. It would just be a hit right over the second baseman. Yeah. But with a wood bat, it's completely shattering the bat.
Right.
That's the only downside for me, at least. That's the only thing I noticed. But they I don't know. I mean, they should just go to wood for Division I. They should go to wood and then just get a stipend from the NCAA, because wood, it's more expensive, obviously. So that's the whole argument.
Yeah, so that's what they say, especially I guess now with like some of these wood bats are getting pretty expensive because they're like, bamboo or composite or whatever they are. But I never crunched the numbers because I'm not good at math and I was too lazy. But I was always thinking, like, if you got a pretty solid like 2 or 3 wood bats at like $80, $100 a bat, that could, if you're not a if you're not a shitty hitter or you're going up against like,
they don't last.
I don't know.
Playing indie ball was obviously wood bat, and like every hitter had. I mean, we like the team supplied a bat, but then a lot of hitters they were coming from bigger contracts from like affiliated ball.
Yeah,
they had their own like bat. Deal or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they'd get delivered bats. They get delivered bats basically. I'd say 10 bats a week. I mean, it's a lot. You go through a lot of bats.
I guess that's true too, because you're playing more games, and I'm only comparing it to like my summer league teams that I played for. Like any wood bat team that I played in the summer were playing like 20 games, and I was like, I went through 2 bats. Okay, that's still cheaper than a $400 metal bat.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's different for everyone. But
early on, it was definitely more expensive for wood because metal bats back in the day, it was just a piece of aluminum with a back grip on it. And it was like, here's $25. Give me this metal bat. It'll never break.
Right. Yeah.
And wood bats, Yeah. So, but now I don't know.
Yeah.
I always liked playing with wood bats because it made me feel like a pro.
Sure.
Even though I clearly was not. But in the beginning, trying to learn how to hit with wood, it's different. Like, it sounds the same, like it's the same swing or whatever, but like you said, that Texas leaguer hit over the second baseman's head does not happen anymore with a wood bat.
Right. Yeah.
You got
the sweet spot's much smaller.
Yeah, you either got to hit the sweet spot or you got to be strong and athletic.
Right.
And that was, not me.
It wasn't you? Except for one hit.
Yeah, one key hit. Actually, speaking of other key hits, I have one of those BB Core bats I got from Embry-Riddle after they had to recycle to the new whatever approved bats they were.
Sure.
I think actually you snagged it from them. They gave it to you while you were visiting down at the campus one year, and we used it in that men's league.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and that's where I mashed like the top 5 in all the league of offense with that bat. It was awesome.
It was domination.
It was absolute domination. It was so much so that they didn't ask us back to the league.
Right.
Maybe they asked you. I don't know.
No, I was gone because I remember I didn't finish the whole season.
Yeah,
I left because that was when I went to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'll never. Yeah. I still talk about it.
Yeah, I know. I hear it every episode.
The only time I was ever good at baseball, and they're like, not even like, thanks, we'll call you. Nothing. Yeah. It was like, good season.
Bye.
Delete email.
Lost your email address.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. And they had some of the biggest clowns on that team.
Yeah.
One kid batted 100. And he was a starter. And he batted 3rd.
Who?
Unbelievable. And he's a nice guy, they say.
I don't remember names very well. But there was some like fast kid that played, and then they kept him in the lineup, but he never got on base. So like his speed was never used.
Yeah. They were all the same to me.
Yeah.
Really nice guys.
Yeah.
And me, you and Bud smoked them in baseball. That was it. Yeah. There was this one kid, they always batted him 4th cleanup because he was a bigger, hefty guy.
Right.
And it was like fly ball at third base every single time.
Yeah.
He couldn't hit it out of the
That's what it was.
Yeah. Nice guy though. Man, I'll never get over it.
Bud would start and he'd be like, yeah, I think I'll go like 2 or 3 innings. And it's like inning 6. And they're like, we need to keep going.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know if I talked about this ever. There was the one kid who pitched on that team, I guess adult. He was a guy.
Yeah.
And I was catching, and we would go over the signs ahead of time, like 1 fastball, 2 curve, wiggle change, pretty standard,
Sure.
And I would give him the sign, and he would nod yes, and then he would throw a different pitch. He would cross it out, and then so I went up to the mound one time. I was like, hey, like I called, we called fastball, and that was curve. He's like, you good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. All right, cool. Went back, call curveball, get fastball. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try one more time. And I call like fastball, I get a change up or something. And and this is when I was getting heated. Maybe this is why they didn't invite me back. And I ran back up to the mat. I called Tom. I was like, hey, man, I was like, are you not seeing my sign? He's like, no, I'm seeing. I was like, well, you're shaking your head up and down. Yes. Which means you agree with the sign, right? He's like, yes. I was like, so why are you throwing different pitches? He's like, well, I didn't like the pitch. I didn't like what you were calling. And that's when I lost it. I yelled, and Bud wasn't there that game. It was at the end of the season, and you were already gone.
Yeah.
And I yelled in front of like everybody. I was like, then fucking shake me off, dude. I was like, don't say yes and then cross me the fuck up. And I walked back and I told the batter the next pitch, I was like, I'm calling fastball, but he's probably going to throw a curveball. So be ready. Guy hits a triple on a curveball. I was so fucking pissed. I was so heated. And I think that was probably like, oh, this guy's not a family. Like he's not nice like the rest of the team.
Probably led into your dismissal.
Yeah. I was heated. And I was like, what? Nobody else seems to care in this league. But
that's what you get out of that league. It's a lot of high school, high school, like peaked in high school, wanted to keep playing.
Some of them didn't even peak in high school. Some of them are just not good.
Yeah.
Like
It was fun though.
It was fun when
you guys, when all three of us were there.
Yeah, and that's something. Yeah, and that's something I actually have a conversation with my parents a little bit about every once in a while, and then even some other guys that we played with was like, they're like, oh, why don't you go find a summer league to play? And it's like, it's not the same,
right? Yeah.
Unless I know that team is gonna, we're gonna go run sprints after each game, and we're gonna work our asses off. We're gonna try to pummel every team into the ground every time, even though it's a summer beer league.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different atmosphere. Yeah. I can't be the only one. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm not. I know that my skills have, like, I know where the peak is, and it's lower than most people. Got it.
Sure.
But I'm gonna try to 10-run rule you every single time.
Right.
And if there's nobody else around that even feels that way, it's not as fun. The game is not as fun.
I agree.
It's not just about like having a good time. It's different from my old man who plays with the 80-year-olds. At that point, it's like, yeah,
sure,
we're 80. We're lucky to be alive. Let's play some baseball and have fun.
Yeah.
It's winning and crushing teams and getting into fights. That shit's fun.
Yeah.
Like jawing back and forth and trash talking. That's all fun.
What's that hat? So this is School of the Christian Blind, whatever. I've never once heard of that school. I wish I was there for that. That was when you and Bud were there. I was gone, I think, at that point, or maybe I just didn't make that game.
That was a game.
Shit talking.
That's a great game all around. So this is summer league still. I'm running late from work. At the time I'm working this job where I'm working 12 hours a day. I'm an assistant for a colonel, which is like all the bitch work you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And this game happened to be also an hour away from where I worked. So I'm racing over. I change at work and I'm speeding down to this game. And we're down. We have 7 players. And the umps were saying, like, if you don't get an 8th player on the field in the next 5 minutes, we have to forfeit the game.
Right.
So I'm running onto the field, and they're like, you need to be in the dugout, and we'll start. I was like, fine. I got to the dugout, and they're like, okay, we can start now. And as soon as I was able to actually put my bag down and get settled, they're like, Libretti, you're up. And I didn't warm up. I didn't stretch. My shoes were barely tied, like my cleats. And I get up there, and I hit a home run. There was like a strong wind tunnel shooting out to left field. And I hit this fly ball and I was like, shit, fly ball. And it just carried over for a 3-run home run. And then later in that game, their catcher on this other team was jawing back and forth. He was kind of trashy. And he hits a fly ball to the first base side. And Bud is playing first base. And it's on the grass in first base, like the first base side. So well in fair territory, not in the base path.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid cuts around into the grass to try to distract Bud and hit him while he's trying to catch the ball.
Yeah.
So him and Bud start jawing back and forth. And then Bud's father, Big Mike Maloney, is in the stands and he starts in and he's jawing back and forth. So much so that he's doing it 3 innings later and the ump tossed him. He's out there. He's in the outfield, sitting on his motorcycle the rest of the game, ripping through a pack of heaters, just burning through whatever Merit cigarettes he's smoking. And at the end of the game, we ended up losing because we only had 8 players. And then they put their player coach in our right field for us. And he was a nightmare.
Always. Yeah.
So we ended up losing. And we're in the parking lot. And Big Mike starts jawing again. He's seeing players walk by. He's like, way to be Bush League to, you only won that game because you're trash or whatever, blah, blah. And this one big dude, that's where he goes. He's like, what do you mean Bush? He's like, I pitched that game of all. He's like, I played at, a D1 school. And Bud goes, yeah, where? And he's like, yeah, so Christian school for the blind. And Bud's like, I never even fucking heard of that school, you idiot. And then some tiny guy, he was like 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing. Like he looked like a malnourished Matt Steele. And he was like, okay, guys, let's break it up. And Bud's like, dude, I can throw you right now. He's like, get the hell out of here. And they were about to fight in the parking lot.
That happened way too often. The years that I played for that team before you guys were there, that happened all the time. And it's just guys that are trying to act tough and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
it's
funny. It's funny when because we get to talk about the story but it's like, it's just ridiculous when it's in the moment. It's funny though.
Yeah, it's the majority of the people who are doing that are the guys who are like you said, peaked in high school.
Yeah.
And like it's what they think is competing, but it's really just like their insecurity of the fact that they're not good anymore.
Right.
Like I get pissed when people are lazy or they don't hustle or they have a poor attitude.
Sure.
But if you try and you suck, like, yeah, got it. You're trying hard. It's angering, but it's not like, I know you're at your peak of athleticism right there.
Yeah.
Also, I know that because I sucked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't getting as mad at people for just being bad.
Right.
But if you were bad and you had a shitty attitude or you were lazy about it,
right.
then it's like, get the hell off the field. Like
the like player coach or whatever thought I had a shitty attitude. This was before you guys played a few years. I think I might have told this story. I was up to bat or whatever, and there were 2 outs, and I struck out. And so then, like in normal baseball, like I'd say above high school, I guess maybe in high school too. But when you make the 3rd out, like you just take your stuff off, you take your helmet, your batting gloves, whatever, you put your bat down. So that's all I did. I struck out. I stood there out of the batter's box. I took off my helmet, my batting gloves, my bat, and put it down on the ground, and then walked out to my position.
And then usually like your boy or someone else on the team is like, I got you.
Yes.
Get your glove and hat, because you put it on the bench, and then they grab it for you so you can just go out.
So then they will bring your stuff out to you, and then someone will grab your bat and your gloves and
That's
stuff.
literally been like that, like a standard since I can remember.
Right.
Little League.
And so I start doing that, and then the player coach yells at me, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? You have the fucking worst attitude. Like, you think this is the big leagues? What are you doing?
Like no, this is baseball.
Baseball,
dude.
man. Like, this is ridiculous. So you're yelling at me. And so I was like, okay. So then I went in, put my stuff in, and went out. And so then ever since then, they had like this weird like thing. That was like the last year I played for a couple of years until you guys
went back to it.
Yeah.
Back to Ballstein.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll play again one day, but not anytime soon.
We got to get all 3 back in the same city.
Yeah, maybe get the creature involved or Bonji. Like if we could get, that's always something I said. If we could get the gang back together.
Yeah, like that softball tournament we played in.
That was awesome.
Softball isn't really high on my priority list, but
it's not on my list at all.
If we ever got like a group of guys like that together, like we did many years ago.
Yeah, that's a whole other story too. That whole tournament was wild.
I think we told that story.
We might have, That was a good time.
Yeah.
That was another thing that like we were just having fun, and there was guys taking it way too seriously, which I guess, I don't know. It's fine to be serious about it, but like these guys were not letting us use their softballs.
It was
like
I think they realized how sad it was for them, because there was a group of 9 baseball players that have never played softball in their life playing against these professional softball players.
Yeah.
And we were waxing them,
crushing them. And they were, and that's when things got squirrely.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah. We should probably cut this off. We got to get some food.
Yeah.
We got a lot going on here at the Wet Cat compound.
Yeah.
So before we go though, real quick, big 3. We'll hit it real quick. Everyone should know who's listening. Big 3 are the 3 pillars that we try to instill in people to be a better, happier, less stressful person and to stay strong in their lives. So 1, exercise every day. Whatever you got to do, exercise, run around with your dog, do jumping jacks, do jerk off, whatever you got to do to burn calories and get the endorphins rushing in your body. Do it. Okay. You'll feel better mentally, physically, emotionally. 2, don't be a shitty person. Don't hide behind your keyboards and your iPhones and your Instagram profiles and be an asshole to people just because you're sticking it to them. We don't even have to talk about that anymore. I dig into that every other episode way too deep. So 3, the most important, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. Thank you for letting me, come be a guest here at the compound and for inviting me over here and to do this. It's nice to have like good friends and family close by to be able to do this stuff. People take that, I think, for granted too often. And whether it's being able to physically come here or just staying in touch on Xbox, for instance.
Sure.
Like, I'm very grateful for that. So thank you for that.
Me too.
You were one of the guys, and I'll give a shout out to my buddy, Steve McStiff. you guys were the ones that got me into getting an Xbox, not so much for the gaming because I suck at gaming, but for being able to stay in touch and just shoot the shit every day. We talk every day.
Yeah.
Through games.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the hotline. I can throw a couple questions out in social media land to get your feedback. So hit the hotline to give me that feedback. Or if you have any questions or ideas, send them my way, 202-670-1114. Once I get that, I'll play it on a future episode, guaranteed. I don't think there's any hotline call that I haven't played yet, even if they're troll calls. So send them in. Phil, you got anything else you want to add?
No, thanks for coming. Glad we can make this happen.
Yeah,
we were talking about traffic. You're only 50 miles away.
Yeah, it was like 60 miles total, which is an hour drive anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. But it takes 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know it took a chunk out of your day to come out, but thanks for coming.
All good. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.
Bye.